You have, okay, 11 to 1.
You see a fine to go up there too?
I'm
Now,
not gonna get fined 10 grand for it though.
we have, do you have the Gunstock Water District stuff along?
I do, yes.
While you're passing out, what else did we missed?
The police
The police
contract.
union contract.
Oh, yeah.
It's Article 3 on the draft warrant, and I have given you a copy of the
Take one off the rest down,
negotiated changes to the contract.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we vote to recommend the bargaining agreement between the Board of Selectmen and the Teamsters Local 633 on behalf of certain police department employees, which call for a wage and benefit package that requires no appropriation, zero, for the estimated costs necessary as written and presented.
Second.
The question you have to have is how can there be no impact? I just need a little more understanding. of
Because
that.
again, there's no increase in dollars from the
Yeah.
current contract.
Financial impact, that's
Yep.
what I'm talking about.
The issue boils down to the way the state defines cost items. And as defined by the state, there are no increased cost items defined in the contract.
Okay, what is that definition?
It's the increase in wages and benefits above the current contract costs.
All right, so you're saying this, there's no, one offsets the other.
The
It's actually
salary
less.
goes down in this new contract, because you gotta remember that we had a police chief that was at a higher wage than our current police chief, and we're hiring police officers
That'll be a
that
low.
it'll be at a lower rate, so
Right.
even with that, the wages and benefits are still lower than what it was in the previous contract.
Okay. Sue, did you have a question? Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Dave.
I understand where that comes in at a zero cost impact. Did anything change within the internals that you could talk about legally?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up,
Meeting
Dave.
steps and different things like
Yeah.
that?
Since we can't talk about anything
No,
in
no,
the
no,
school.
no, I'm glad you brought that up. The Board of Selectmen have taken the stand that once all the negotiations are done, and in this case, that union has ratified it, and the Board of Selectmen has approved it, we release that information immediately, all of it.
Seems like the appropriate way of doing it.
Right. We release it so the general public can read all of it.
So similar to the school's contract, there's changes in the internals.
We have
Okay.
given you in this packet today a copy of every single thing that was changed in the contract.
Okay.
Cost items and non-cost items. You have that information.
So any raises, be it merit or step or whatever other term you wish to use pursuant to what's in the contract,
Strictly merit,
is already built into the contract.
yes.
For this year.
Because there's been no change to that system.
Because somebody's decreased, some other wages have decreed enough to
Right.
offset that.
Is this
So
a
raises
multi-year
are-
discount? And it's the same for next year as well?
Well, it's all in here. In a nutshell, the first year, the economics are the exact same as they are in the old contract. In the second year of the contract, the employees get a 15-cent wage increase, and that is offset by an increase in their premium contributions to health insurance of 1% and the premium contributions to dental insurance of 1%.
Okay, and that's an hourly increase, obviously, right?
Yes.
Could I,
I'm going to ask Scott for you to repeat what that last sentence once more, because something is not clicking. You just said, tell me if I get this right, that in the second year, everybody's going to get a 15-cent raise, or
15 cents an hour, yes.
and that's offset by,
They're paying 1% more for the premiums for health insurance and 1% more for the premiums for dental insurance.
And what will that bring them up, Scott? Just, what will they be paying for the
They'll
health
be going
insurance?
from 7.5 to 8.5 on health and from 2.5 to 3.5 on dental.
At 15 cents, that's really, you take
It's
the money
it's
away from
virtually
it.
a wash.
Thank you very much.
Dollar-wise, they make out, but the net cost of the contract in the second year is still less than what we would pay under the current contract.
Could
Yeah,
I make
but still, in the private sector, if you don't get a raise, or if you get a little bit of a raise, but the benefit costs are going way up, it's certainly not considered a wash, and you don't link the two. It is what it is, and I'm finding the linkage that you're specifying right now a little,
Well, the linkage is only an impact on the budget.
well, yeah,
And we have no idea
But
what
we've
the
been-
increase in premiums would be.
well, nobody does.
Right.
Private sector or public sector, we have no idea what's gonna happen.
But the point being though, Skip, is it's a 1% increase from 7.5 to 8.5 for 15 cents an hour.
Well, if my insurance goes up, I'm not necessarily gonna get an increase in my pay to cover that cost. Yes. And you don't either.
I totally agree. I don't belong to a union.
But we also achieved a bunch of other objectives, some of which are economic and some of which are non-economic. And, you know, if it was a unilateral process, like the personnel policy, where we're able to say, this is the way it's going to be, that would be simple, but negotiations do
Yeah,
not work
I mean,
that way.
This is one reason why I voted contrary to some of you in the last one. You do have to deal with people. And there's two sides to these things. And to reopen it for a few cents, in my opinion, is not worth it. Same way I felt on that last one. The damn thing already went to mediation. What are we screwing around with it for?
Could I make a comment?
Well, there is practicality in my body.
Way down there.
You have to deal with the real world.
A few minutes ago, we had the teacher's contract, and actually it was probably a few hours ago, wasn't it? And I voted against it, and not fundamentally because of the cost. I voted against it because fundamentally, you're asking me to vote on something that I haven't read, and it's just like signing a contract. I mean, I read it and understand it before I'm willing to put my signature down, and that's just me. And that's why I like what you're saying. I like the zero impact. I love that. But not knowing the particulars, I can't put my I can't put my vote on it.
I have to argue with that. I mean, there's too many things in here that we can't read every word on. If we don't trust these individuals,
It's going to appear
then
on the ballot.
you've got a couple more years to live with them. You can make their life hell.
But then on the other hand, we have provided you that information.
No, you provided the financial information.
No.
The summary.
No.
The reality is, though, the budget committee is being asked to make a recommendation on the cost items. You're not being asked to approve the union contract.
Right, but
And the cost items are zero.
when it appears on the ballot, excuse me, when it appears on the ballot, it says that to approve the contract, and it's recommended, not the cost item. It doesn't specifically say the cost item.
It
is
absolutely
recommended.
specifically
Does it
says
really?
the cost item. Yes.
Okay, well then I stand corrected.
And that is written on Article 3 in the draft money articles.
It says recommended by the budget committee.
Vote to approve the cost item.
Yes.
Oh, I see, okay.
And that's what the.
Oh,
role
I
of the
stand
budget-
corrected, and I'll reverse my
And-
position.
And that
Thank
is
you.
also the role of the voters, only to approve the cost.
Flip-flop.
That's the way the system.
Yeah, because the voters actually don't get to, in this case, they maybe get to read the words, but in general, they're relying on cost.
Correct.
Which also means that if they can read this contract, they should be able to read the teacher's contract.
That's
No sense
another
of-
subject. That's another
I'm
We're
just
not
subject.
going
making an
back there.
observation.
Okay, so,
Can we go for a vote? Is there-
do we have any,
What do we have?
you ready to vote on Article 3?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we're down a lady.
That's all right. That's the advantage of having 12.
Yep.
What I missed when I went to the head?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Remember that stipend you got? It's now at zero. Yeah, we doubled it.
My wife doesn't give me a stipend.
Okay, so the motion on the table is for the Budget Committee to recommend Article 3, which is the union contract.
There she comes.
Oh, okay. Sue, we'll wait for you. You just made the vote.
I didn't hear it.
Article 3.
Article 3, we're gonna vote whether we recommend it or not.
The police
Union,
contract,
the police union contract.
$0 increase.
Oh, good
Who
question.
seconded that?
I don't know.
Who seconded that motion?
I'll say,
Dan.
It was seconded by somebody. That I remember at the time.
It was
but-
me.
All right, so all those in favor of Article 3, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? 12-0.
Thank you.
Now, we have the Water District, which was brought to us very late,
Goings on.
which
Online.
which was given to Fred very late.
Now, what's the bottom line here?
Yeah,
Tell us about it.
bottom line, you're looking at the front page is the crux of it. It's gonna be based on the income, that's what we're talking about with the user fees. Look at the subtotal line last year, currently it's 284,460. And we're asking for 260,000,
A decrease.
so it's a decrease.
being a
So-
rookie here, this is completely offset by your, the charges, right?
Correct, yeah.
There's no budget impact at all, really, or
Well, to
taxpayer.
them
No.
it does.
Taxpayer.
Right, yeah.
No, taxpayer doesn't know.
Nothing to argue about.
I move the approval of the budget or the water district budget in the amount of 260,000.
I'll second it.
What was this
Despite
pencil?
Fred's performance this week.
Pass on that one.
Mr. Chairman, I call for a vote on that.
Did you put some money in
I won't even make my comment. All those in favor of the Gunstock Village Water District budget as moved and seconded, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Fred, just a quick question. How many households, or households, businesses, service hookups, does this cover?
It's about 650 homes, another 120 or so vacant lots
Wow.
that have connection, and then you have like Gunstock Inn, Elcoya Barn and Grill, and Mineral Springs Realty down there.
No, I just want to have a general idea on the size, thank you.
Now, we have
Yeah,
other,
just, yeah, as sort of a side note, I know it was Wade Crawshaw, the long time contractor in the district. He passed away a couple of months ago. His son has actually taken over this business and extremely smoothly. His son is very, he's,
Good to hear.
yeah, it's great. Couldn't ask for a smoother transition given the circumstances.
so we've covered everything we're required to except for other. And I know there's a few others around, like Dave.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, answer questions concerning, I did receive an email, plus I think I spoke to somebody on the phone concerning question on the 2011 year end encumbrances. To be clear, and I'm only speaking for the Board of Selectmen, to be clear, this is a practice that we've done, as far as I can remember, every single year that I've been a selectman. What we do is we encumber monies that have already been presented by the selectmen to the budget committee. The budget committee's approved, and then the voters have approved for that year. And then what happens is, items go out to, they go out for bid, or they've been ordered, and the product's not been received yet.
Purchase orders.
Or the invoice hasn't been sent to the town yet. These are all items that have already been approved for this year, that we even haven't got billed for, or we haven't received the product in totality yet.
That's the type of explanation I'm looking for, and I certainly would like to examine a couple of bigger ones, just a little closer, just to confirm
Yep.
what you're saying there.
Yep, and again, we provided purchase order numbers, we've broken it down by department, so that you guys can see this is all stuff by department, by the budget line, you can take a look at it. And again, this is a practice that we do every year, and again, as you can see, it's pretty clear.
Nothing here that was planned to buy next year that you're gonna buy this year instead.
Not at all. not at all.
And within these purchases, did any of these grossly exceed any of the original line item budgets that were in there, or you don't know that detail?
I couldn't guess on something like that, unless you have a specific one you
Well,
could point to.
let's just
but-
talk about the salt, just,
Yep.
that there's two items in there, and I understand, storage, I understand,
Which specific line are you,
under
on the highway?
highway, there's 49,000 and 61,000 on road salt.
Yep.
I just want to be comfortable with that.
If you look on your yellow budget sheets, on the column marked actuals for FY 2011, those amounts include all these outstanding purchase orders. So you will see what that does to the bottom line for each specific line item.
So all of these POs that are listed here all have issue dates within this budget season.
Yes, coming out of the 2011.
Well, it's.
Coming out of the 2011, because obviously it's gonna be paid in calendar year 2012.
Right.
Right, but it was purchased
If you
from
actually
a-
bring the money over from one year to the next and then spend it in 2012, the mechanics might work from an accounting
It's
perspective.
tough, because in order to give the board the list at their last meeting, which was December 28th, there's still a few days left in the month. Not only that, but the state allows us to leave the 2011 books open until January 10th to pay all those bills that come in at the end of the month. So some of these may be paid in 2012, and those that aren't will be carried over as designated fund balance into 2012 and paid out of the designated fund balance.
But again, to be clear, we're purchasing items that have been approved.
Yeah, so it's nothing like we were talking about before in the track.
Correct, just to be clear.
If I could maybe clarify the road salt, I had an idea and I asked Sheldon about this the other day as well. There's no way to predict the winter season really runs from October 15th right up until maybe April 15th. I mean,
Or if you're Littleton,
being
it's longer than
conservative.
that.
Well, right. And there's no way to predict, what you're gonna
June.
use right up until New Year's Eve.
Correct.
They budget for the entire winter season based on usage of last winter season, trend data, and there's no way they can buy it all at once, store it all, and they may have not taken any this year, they may have had some left over from last winter season, so that's one I completely understand.
They use too much on my road.
If I may, just to continue with this then, so as I look at your yellow sheets, and the road salt, those two items, for the roughly 110,000 is part of the $177,570 actual number to date, is that correct?
Dave, page,
Pardon me?
page,
On the yellow sheets, I'm on page 10 under highway,
okay.
line item dash 544.
Ice control.
Yeah,
So at the end of the year, there was 110,000 allocated, and they're saying that's part of the 177,000 under the actual fiscal year 2011. That's what I'm trying to, and I could go back and cross-reference and verify that on all these then. That's all I wanted to know, to make sure we weren't in that same situation.
And the simple answer is we can't store it all.
No, we know that.
And what we do is we purchase it when it comes in as we need it. But it is part of that total number that was pre-approved in 11.
I'm okay with that one. The only other one that I did want to ask about, and this may or may not be something that could be done, as I said on several occasions, really commend the school with that supply system on purchasing and cost savings that goes along with it. I don't know if the town can piggyback on that, or if that's something that's, can be examined in the future. I'm not saying to do with the budget, but, you know, heck, if we can save money like that on the town side too.
Yeah, they
it'd be
saved like,
wonderful.
something like 25%. It's a big number.
It's huge.
One of the things, Dave, too, that I think you bring up a good point. I remember listening to Kent's presentation a couple weeks ago, considering specifically on computers. I think, Ken, you said something about like computers were around $700 or something like that. Do you guys remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was about 700.
I'm not gonna,
I'm not holding your feet to the fire. I'm just saying we had a topic about that, and it made me think about that and go, you know, that'd be great for the town to also piggyback on that thing. So I think it's a great point. It's something that obviously we as a board can, you know, can look at least into to see if it's even a possibility.
You know, if worse comes to worse, you could buy all the stuff through the school and go get it from it, you know?
So like they could be fencing it to us.
Fencing it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm thinking of,
No,
I'm thinking of pencils
Not gonna
and
go
sheets of
there.
paper.
We don't want to do that, because then you'd want long raincoats to put all your stuff
It's only
underneath,
stolen
you
from
know.
the taxpayers.
No, I know what you're
Actually,
saying.
that's a good point, Gus, because we just changed vendors at the hospital. And they deliver right to us now, and it's
That's-
saved us a significant amount of money.
Is that like medical supplies or?
No, we changed from, we used to use Office Max for all our
Okay.
office supplies. We switched to WB Mason, and they in turn also pass that savings on to the employees. So if I wanted to order my Keurig K-Cups from them, I can get them at a discounted price because I'm an employee of the,
Oh,
That's great.
so there's, you know, more ways.
Yeah, I think there's some of these kind of systems that it just pays you to look into.
You know, on that same line, and I don't know, but maybe Scott might know something, but I lived in the state of Rhode Island. I lived in Florida for a few years, and I can remember when I was in Florida, I was in the truck dealership business, and anything you sold to a municipality, there was something called a sheriff's bid. The Sheriff's Association went out and bid every possible configuration of a truck or equipment. And any municipality could tag onto that. In fact, I think that the Sheriff's Association got a small fee, maybe $100 every time you bought off the sheriff's bid. Rhode Island has something similar. It wasn't the Sheriff's Association, but I'm wondering, is there anything in New Hampshire, I mean, like a police cruiser or a,
it's done through the state does
You
it
can
bid.
piggyback on the-
And all municipalities piggyback on the state.
And-
We buy our cruisers.
you're probably not the person to ask. Use that for our fire truck bidding?
Don't raise the fire truck, we're done with the fire
No,
truck.
I'm just wondering, I mean, if we could, any way we could save, I mean, that's
Yeah,
something that
I agree.
I think we should take advantage of.
Yeah.
Okay, Gus, another question,
Yeah.
because I'm looking at that same list, and I'm thinking, $2,400 for software for a cemetery. What?
Complaints from the residents.
I mean, what, it's not like we have a huge,
Well, the cemetery brought up a lot of questions, where there's some tree cutting and there's some 24, and there was some software, there's a couple of things. It didn't seem like the
Yeah.
same description you just gave for the salt.
Scott, do you want to talk about that, please?
Sounds like it might be a catalog. I think they had mentioned it in here.
So that they know
I know
where.
the cemetery budget came in way under.
They had, as
So
far as
maybe they didn't get some things done, and that's why I come under, so you just tried to do what they didn't get done.
I think
But
Fred had an answer to that.
well, it's hazy, but I think I remember them saying that there was no way for them, none of the plots were cataloged anywhere, so they bought this to have a system where people can actually find who they're looking for.
That'd be better than painting on the stones. To have
There's
a grid map or something.
outline of
Yeah.
plots. There is already an outline of
Because if you
plots.
remember, what did we
Done by
budget
hand.
for them last year? 30 grand, was it?
Yeah,
And we went through this discussion about,
it's been 30 grand for the last couple of
Right.
years.
yeah,
So
but,
I might be wrong. Again, I might be wrong. I thought that's what it was for.
I mean, even if it's just to lay out plots, I'm looking at this going, this is not, for a town this size to spend $2,400 on software for a cemetery, this is kind of crazy.
Well, isn't it all the cemeteries, the historical
Yeah,
ones
I
as
mean, you
well?
can do the
15
same
of
thing in a spreadsheet.
yeah.
For
And-
free.
And again, if you wanna bring that up for this new current budget, I would encourage you to do that. But this is a budget that the budget committee approved, the selectmen approved, and the voters approved.
And so they're staying within the budgets, what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Skip, I'm not here to debate you whether you think they could do it cheaper. I'm just saying, we could sit here all night long listening to you talk about if you could get a cheaper software.
I'm ready.
You know what I mean? But in the end, it wouldn't solve anything because this is what the budget committee's already approved.
Right, from a
The vote is
budgetary
already
standpoint,
approved.
there's absolutely nothing we can do about it, period. But I'm asking a question, I guess of the selectmen to say, why the heck did you guys approve this? This is kind of silly.
Well, that's a good point to make, and he'll take it and,
Yeah, and we can absolutely look at stuff like that and ask those questions. And again, you as a resident, you can ask the cemetery trustees as well and look at it and go, you know, we can talk about that, right, Scott? You can contact them.
They are elected officials.
yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Any others?
Well, no, I'm kidding.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Well-
it gives me
Do we have
great
minutes
pleasure.
from last?
Actually,
No.
there was something that somebody
Hold it,
sent
hold it.
to me. Now I gotta find it. Hold on.
On the clock.
Well, I have a question for
Okay.
the future. I measured the amount of paper we have utilized this year, and we've got almost 3 inches, and that's, I didn't add what we've added on tonight. Do we need to, for example, ask the outside agencies, they produce 2 inches of paper.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
Is that useful to us anymore?
I think the question
I
is,
mean,
anybody
well,
actually reads
when
through
it
it
co-
all?
It's useful to the new
well-
person on the committee.
Yeah, but I'm just, this is
I agree.
pretty foolish.
I'm not gonna
Because it's
just,
going to a warrant article,
Right.
and why are they giving us 2 inches
I'm
of?
not gonna I'm not
Yeah.
gonna disagree with you. The flip side, somebody else will say, the reason why I'm voting against it is because
I
we didn't
didn't
have
know
enough information. So now they're trying to provide as much information to answer all those questions. But in the end, we all know
They didn't answer them.
it doesn't, well, it's not really gonna change your mind whether you vote for it or not.
Getting to Phyllis's point, I mean, is it possible, we don't need that in this budget book in October when we come here. Could it just be, if anybody's interested, wants this information, we can provide it to individual members, but, I don't think we all need it, I don't.
That's something we can think about for next year, right,
I
Scott?
doubt anybody really read through the entire
Yeah.
thing.
Well, the new person was supposed to read through it.
I did.
You're the only guy that have information
I'm
was
still
useful.
working on it.
Yeah, exactly. You're on page 4.
Okay, you have a motion to
Well,
make?
All right, the
Wait a
the
second,
thing
wait a
about it is, this outside agencies used to come here and put on their dog and pony show to us.
Yeah, we don't
We
want,
don't recognize them anymore here, so they're gonna be come to our deliberation sessions, and they're gonna do that there, so they can get their vote.
they'll do that
That's-
anyway.
Let them do it,
And,
can't
but
stop somebody from
I
talking.
guess maybe the chairman of that meeting can probably cut them off and say, well, get to the point and get, unless there's people asking questions. Simple
They'll do
as
that
that.
they'll do that
Summary of
anyway.
what they do, you could put it probably on a half page and say, this is what we do, and we provide this, this, and this, and provide this for Guilford, and this for Laconia, and this for Gilmington, and we want you to pay your fair share. And have, that would be it. Because they're gonna take up half of our meeting at night. You know?
Yes, I do. Got an email, and I think this is something that's known by the select board. There is a garage or a storage shed over by the library.
Yep.
And when I got the email, I went, I don't like the smell of this at all, where it seems like a private resident is using it to store personal property, and instead of revenues being accrued by the town, it's going directly to the Friends of the Library. So I don't understand why that agreement was ever made back in 2009 and why it was given to the Friends of the Library, and I'm also looking to find out how much each year, because it looked like it's a couple of years that it went on, what was the total payments per year? I mean, and why would it just be given away instead of being kept for the use of the taxpayers'
Yeah,
needs of the
I remember asking
town?
that like all those years ago. Scott or Sheldon, do you want to talk about that?
Well, as for the dollars, you're gonna have to ask the library trustees that question, because I don't have the answer to that. As to why it happened, when it came to the Board of Selectmen, it was explained that this person had historically used this building prior to the town buying the property. And in exchange for him being allowed to continue to use it and make a donation to the Friends of the Library, he also cleared the snow off of the roof and did some maintenance to the building. So when the library trustees came in, the library director came in and explained that situation in 2009, the selectmen said, all right, you may continue until such time as the town needs the building, and then we'll let it out.
So it's just a nice to do thing.
Well, and Sheldon, if you remember, because I remember asking all those questions back then, isn't there stairs or something on that garage that were not sturdy or whatever, and we didn't want anyone around it? Isn't that correct?
Yeah, they weren't safe, we broke them off.
And as a result, we made that guy sign a waiver and all of that,
Yeah.
right? Because we realistically couldn't get any,
For your car?
we couldn't let people on that property for any kind of revenue.
Right, so you were on the board when this agreement was made.
Yeah, I remember that. That practice, though, had been going on prior to that.
Prior to the town acquiring it, he was using it so that
It was probably Milo Bacon's garage. I'm
Was
guessing,
there another
right?
That's, I'm
tenant
pretty
before
sure
that,
that's
though?
what it is.
One of those.
Because I thought I remember somewhere in, I don't know, if it's a library or selecting me, I go back in these minutes, you know, as far back as I can until I fall asleep, but I remember something, they are pretty bad. Something about the tenant had been
Not anymore, not
evicted
anymore.
due to some vandalism. And I thought that was sometime in 2009 or early 2010.
I think
I mean,
we're talking 200 to
don't
300
quote me,
dollars.
but I thought there was something about the garage at the library. The selectmen evicted maybe it wasn't, evicted the tenant because of vandalism.
Not in the town like that.
No.
I'll have to dig it up, I don't
Yeah.
know, but it doesn't matter, it's a weak point at
Now,
this.
Sue, just by chance, you're starting to refresh my memory. That's been going on for a long time.
The rental of that garage.
Right.
I'm not sure about that.
Someone's been using it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Talk about the
Okay.
library and the Guilford Knolls and just a comment to you all. You just gave Guilford Knolls, what was that, a 6-month extension or 1-year extension? Did we get any money for that extension? I mean, in the real world that I exist in, I mean, you don't get extensions for free. And I just closed on a piece of land, what, month and a half ago that me and some partners owned for years and years, and the guy had a 6-month extension for almost 8 years. And every time he renewed
Yep.
it, he paid cash to buy the option.
The answer to your question is no.
Could we, to
Well,
offset the,
You gotta remember too that the Guilford voters said, sell this to the
Right.
Village Knolls. So we're doing what the people told us to do. Then in speaking to the Friends of the Library and their group, and speaking to Tony Ferrillo and his group, which are trying to get an elderly senior home housing built there, we're trying to honor everybody's wishes. The Friends, we almost put it back on for sale this year, to put it back out so to get back, but the Friends of the Guilford Library said that they would be okay waiting for us giving them another 6 months to try to sell that property.
no, I mean.
Or get the funding, I should say.
Usually those options, you know, there's a small fee. I mean, we're not talking a lot of money. It's what, 100 grand, 110, I think?
Yeah, the problem is it's all coming out of the same place.
Well, yeah, but it can go.
Right,
to
who would
offset
you
the-
charge and who would the money be going to? Because it's all going right back to
Well, you
them.
guys are giving the money for the rental on this garage to the Friends, and the Friends is the ones that's actually occurring the taking a hit every time they extend their note, right?
Yeah, and they are not requesting
Okay.
that money. They know that there is a fee to them
Put it
having
back in the
that
general
credit.
fund. offset taxes.
For what?
I mean, we're only talking, what, $1,000 probably,
But for what?
for anything.
For why, is my point. Not for what, but for why? Why would we do that?
Would he walk away if he had to pay a $1,000 fee to
But why
continue this
would we
extension?
do, my question though is, why would we do that when it's for senior housing and it's what the Guilford voters told us to do? I'm just asking, like, why would we do that? If it was for a private individual
Yeah,
who's
you'd have to
looking
do it.
for a business, then I would be like, absolutely right. but
Don't
this
get
is-
me wrong, I mean, just like the industrial park down the road here, I don't think the town should be in the land development business. But if we're gonna do it, let's use common practices that the rest of the world uses.
Do I hear a motion?
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
One
All
last
those in
thing.
favor?
I would like to thank Mia for being
Great
with
job,
us.
yeah.
We do appreciate
Doing
it.
such a great job,
Thank you.
and having my things
And
printed
plus,
out when I
she has to
need.
deal with me, which is even worse.
So Monday night, what time and where?
You had previously said,
It says 7 o'clock.
no, you said 6:30 at the high school. I don't know what the official
Monday, oh,
notice.
is that
was.
right?
I think it says 7 on the,
The
online.
notice may have said 7, but you said 6:30, that's what I.
Well,
Yeah.
we go by the notice. I think,
Somebody did say.
yeah, I think public meetings are at 7. Is that,
Dave, Dave, show up at 6:30. He's not.
hey, Jeff, so you're putting the package,
I didn't do the public notice, so I don't.
you're putting the package together like we had last year?
Did we vote to
Yep.
adjourn?
Same as,
Yes,
Yeah,
we
you
did.
missed it.
same
Oh,
as,
okay.
you know, last
Aye.
couple of years.
Just,
I'll do it and send an email out.
yeah, just a summary, so somebody has something to look
What time is
at.
it?
Have you
Croc TV.